Today's story, The Forest's Curse. Welcome to Story Loop, the ultimate destination for captivating tales and timeless stories. Whether you're here to relax, reflect, or get inspired, Story Loop is your haven for storytelling magic. Hit subscribe and join the loop today, because every story deserves to be heard. Where the shadows whisper, and the night comes alive with fear. Here, every tale drips with dread, every word lures you deeper, and every twist will leave you breathless. Are you brave enough to listen? Turn down the lights, and let the darkness tell its story. It was a cold, moonless night when Emma found herself driving down an unfamiliar, deserted road. The forest on either side loomed like dark sentinels, their twisted branches clawing at the inky sky. Her car's headlights pierced the gloom, but the oppressive silence seemed to swallow the sound of her tires on the cracked pavement. Her phone had lost signal miles ago, and the GPS stubbornly refused to load the map. The uneasy feeling in her chest grew as she noticed a faint figure in the distance, standing on the edge of the road. Emma slowed down, her heartbeat quickening. As she approached, she saw it was a girl in a tattered white dress, her long, dark hair obscuring her face. Emma rolled down her window slightly. "Are you okay? Do you need help?" The girl didn't respond. Instead, she raised a hand and pointed into the woods. Emma hesitated, her instincts screaming to drive away. But something about the girl's stillness, the eerie calmness of her gesture, compelled Emma to stop. Against her better judgment, Emma grabbed a flashlight from her glove compartment and stepped out of the car. The air was icy, and the silence felt heavier outside. She turned toward the spot where the girl had pointed but found nothing but dense trees and shadows. When she turned back, the girl was gone. Panic began to set in. Emma swung the flashlight around frantically, calling out, "Hello? Where are you?" A rustling noise came from deeper in the forest. Heart pounding, Emma edged closer. Her flashlight caught movement, a fleeting shadow darting between the trees. "Who's there?" she demanded, her voice trembling. The rustling grew louder, closer, until it surrounded her. Emma felt the ground shift beneath her feet, as if the forest itself were alive. Then, a whisper, soft, chilling, brushed against her ear. "You shouldn't have stopped." Emma whirled around, but there was no one there. The flashlight flickered, and she was plunged into darkness. The last thing she heard before everything went silent was the sound of a child's laughter, echoing through the trees. Hours later, Emma's car was found abandoned on the side of the road. The driver's side door was open, and the keys were still in the ignition. But there was no sign of Emma. Locals whispered about the haunted forest, a place where the lost never returned. Some claimed to hear laughter echoing through the trees at night, while others spoke of shadowy figures that watched from the darkness. Emma's disappearance became just another unsolved mystery, a cautionary tale for those who dared to wander too far from the safety of the road. And deep within the forest, the laughter continued, mingling with the whispers of the trees. Weeks passed, and Emma's family hired a private investigator, Martin Hayes, to uncover the truth about her disappearance. Martin was a no-nonsense kind of man, unshaken by ghost stories or local legends. Equipped with a map of the area, a flashlight, and a revolver, he set out one evening to retrace Emma's steps. Martin parked his car at the same spot Emma's was found and stepped into the dense forest. Unlike Emma, he came prepared. He had a compass, a two-way radio, and an unwavering resolve. But as he ventured deeper into the woods, even he couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The forest was unnaturally quiet. No rustling leaves, no chirping crickets, just an oppressive silence that made the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end. Martin marked his trail with red ribbons tied to branches, ensuring he wouldn't lose his way. Hours passed, and Martin found nothing but endless trees and an unshakable sense of dread. Just as he was about to turn back, he stumbled upon something odd, a weathered journal lying at the base of a tree. The leather cover was damp, and the pages were yellowed with age. Flipping it open, he discovered entries written in a shaky hand, detailing strange occurrences in the forest. June 5th, I saw her again. The girl in white. She pointed, always pointing. I followed once, and I'll never forget what I saw. Martin's brow furrowed as he continued reading. The entries grew more frantic, describing encounters with shadowy figures, whispers in the dark, and an overwhelming sense of being hunted. The final entry was a single sentence scrawled in large, uneven letters: "Don't follow the girl." A chill ran down Martin's spine. He stuffed the journal into his backpack and pressed on, his flashlight cutting through the fog that now blanketed the forest floor. Then, in the distance, he saw it, a faint glow, like a lantern, swaying gently in the darkness. Against his better judgment, Martin followed the light. It led him to a clearing where an old, decrepit house stood. The windows were shattered, and the roof sagged, but a faint light flickered inside. He approached cautiously, his hand on his revolver. The door creaked open as he stepped inside. The air was thick with the scent of mildew and decay. Dust motes danced in the beam of his flashlight as he scanned the room. It was empty, save for a single rocking chair that swayed gently, as if someone had just been sitting in it. "Hello?" Martin called out, his voice echoing through the empty house. There was no response. He moved deeper into the house, his footsteps echoing on the wooden floorboards. Every creak and groan of the old house set his nerves on edge. Then, from upstairs, he heard it, a faint giggle. Martin's grip tightened on his flashlight as he ascended the stairs. Each step groaned under his weight, the sound reverberating through the silence. At the top, he found a hallway lined with doors, all slightly ajar. The giggle came again, this time from the last room on the left. Sweat trickled down his temple as he approached the door. Pushing it open, he found an empty bedroom. The wallpaper was peeling, and the furniture was covered in white sheets. In the center of the room, a single doll sat on the floor, its glass eyes staring blankly at him. Before Martin could react, the door slammed shut behind him. The flashlight flickered, and the temperature in the room plummeted. The giggle turned into a sinister laugh, echoing all around him. Martin's survival instincts kicked in. He aimed his flashlight around the room, desperate to find an exit. The doll in the center of the floor moved, its head jerking unnaturally as if something unseen were controlling it. "You've come too far," whispered a voice, low and guttural, seemingly emanating from the walls themselves. The flashlight flickered again, and Martin was plunged into complete darkness. A surge of cold air swept through the room, and Martin felt hands, small, icy hands, grabbing at his arms and legs. He swung wildly, shouting, but his movements felt sluggish, as if he were wading through thick water. The whispers intensified, a cacophony of voices speaking languages he couldn't understand. Then, just as suddenly as it began, everything stopped. Martin found himself back in the forest clearing, the decrepit house nowhere in sight. The journal was still in his backpack, and the red ribbons he'd used to mark his path hung eerily from the branches around him. But something was wrong. The forest was alive in a way it hadn't been before. The trees pulsed, their bark resembling veins. The fog thickened, and the air buzzed with a low, rhythmic hum. A faint glow appeared in the distance, and Martin, against all logic, felt drawn to it. His body moved as if compelled by an unseen force. He arrived at the old swing set Emma had discovered, now rusted and overgrown with vines. Sitting on one of the swings was the girl in white. This time, her face was visible. Her eyes were hollow, dark voids that seemed to swallow the light. Her mouth curved into a twisted smile as she whispered, "You should have left. Thank you for joining us on this chilling journey. Remember, not all shadows hide in the dark, and sometimes, the past refuses to rest. Until next time, sweet dreams."